What's up, millinery nerds? Welcome to another episode of Hat Gossip with me, John of Hatters Millinery. Welcome, it's nice to see you. It's nice to be back in front of a camera again. So today we are talking, well, you can probably tell from the title, we are talking to Catherine Kelly of Hatters Millinery Supplies, amongst many other businesses. So yeah, let's just crack onto this. Just preface this video. Yes, I had slight issues with recording, so this is why there's two different videos, not at the same time. So please forgive. I've done my best. So without further ado, let's crack on with this episode. So Catherine, thank you very much for talking to me today. It's finally good to get you on Hat Gossip, and I've been talking about this for a while. So let's just crack on with it. Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Hi there, I'm Catherine Kelly. I'm the owner of Embellish Atelier, and we have a few little divisions, I suppose you could call them, in here as well that have developed along the way. One of those is Hatters Millinery Supplies, which was formerly known to the world as S.A. Brown, one of the oldest millinery supply businesses in Australia. It's getting close to initially being about 100 years old. Also of Hatters Millinery School, which we've only just named, but I have been teaching for over 30 years. Not always millinery, of course, but I was a textile and design teacher from high school, and so it's just kind of morphed into teaching millinery. So I've been teaching millinery for almost 12 years. And also the competition that I developed a few years in 2015 called Hatember, which has grown from being kind of wear a hat a day kind of idea to now a competition where people send in their hats with curated materials from Hatters Millinery Supplies, and that's a fundraiser for my family fund.
What was your introduction to millinery? How did that look? How did you start?
So my first kind of official lesson in millinery was with Valtraud Reiner in London. I went to her house, and I think I'm officially her first student. I was living in London at the time, and I'd been to Royal Ascot, which I thought was just amazing, and thought this is something I would quite like to learn about. I had dabbled in things to do with millinery. I was trained as a home economics teacher, including food and nutrition and textile and design, and we'd had a very small part of millinery in our course, which had kind of interested me. I've made little sewn hats before, but this whole idea of owning blocks and blocking was kind of quite new. And then when I came back to Australia, I kind of developed my design skills, and then eventually went to TAFE at Ultimo and did the courses there to become certified.
And how did you progress from having from learning to actually getting a store?
Well, I guess I'd always had a huge dream of having a shop. That was a bit of a dream, but it was a bit tricky with children growing up, and my husband had a very busy job, so it never was going to be a reality. John died in an accident 12 years ago now, and my world kind of fell apart. I had to keep going for my children's sake, and then I thought for myself, what is the one unrealized dream that you have? And that was to have a shop. So I fought hard. I looked really, everywhere. I had a little studio down the road for 10 years prior to that, and so I guess it was a natural transition. I had done some pop-up stores. I had won a little grant to have a pop-up store in the Rocks, and I'd had a pop-up store in the QVB, and done lots of markets and lots of fashion parades and collaborations and so forth over the years. So it kind of, all that experience and a bit of event experience led me to thinking, I reckon I can give this a shot. And I love it. I walk in every day. I can't wait to get here every day to find out what new I can write on my long list of things to do.
Talking of collaborations, I saw that you collabed with Danny Gallela for the Australian Turf Club very recently. How did that come about?
I think having a shop front is great. Seeing my work around, I've been established now for a long time. I'm consistent. I feel like we offer a real couture millinery experience here. So I think that it was timely. That's something that he was looking for, the Turf Club were looking for, and it's really great because he's also brought in quite a few other local Sydney milliners, and I think this has been really great for Sydney millinery, that the collaboration he's done with the Australian Turf Club, really couture high-end milliners in that program, and it's absolutely flawless. His operation has been flawless. He's so he's a great stylist. He's really thoughtful. He's got real eye for colour and personality and materials. It's wonderful to work with him.
Talk me through the retail side. So you have gone from an atelier to having a retail store, which is one of the big suppliers to Australia and the wider world, really. So tell me about how did that come about?
Well, I had been a client, I guess, of a customer of Hatters Millinery Supplies and S.A. Brown when they were S.A. Brown, ever since I began millinery. I mean, they were the known exclusive suppliers of millinery materials, and Emily, who was the daughter of Jenny, the then owner of, called me and for a coffee, and she had a little look around my shop, and we went and had a coffee, and she said, well, we think you'd be a great fit to buy our business. And I went, oh no, I couldn't do that. I really couldn't. My heart was like, oh, wow, like there's no way I have the skills for something like this. Anyway, I said, give me 24 hours to think about it. And so I went and called my accountant and I said, what do you think? And his instant reaction was, you would be great at this. So his confidence in me gave me that, and so we had a meeting and worked out how I would do it and what my goals should be and how I would work towards acquiring it. And yeah, Jenny, and I went out and did a few days with them to see if that's what I could consider it, and it was, I have to say, pretty scary and very challenging to fill the shoes of such an established and reputable business, but it's been a really exciting journey. It's meant that I have had to take on staff, and I've loved that. I love my beautiful staff. I love the fabrics and materials, and that has always been my passion. Beautiful fabric. I learnt to sew when I was a tiny little girl. I was allowed to sew on my mother's treadle machine from about the age of 5. I'd run to the dairy and she'd give me little projects, and I'd run home and sew it up and run back, and she'd pin a zip in and show me what to do. So and my grandmother taught me to sew as well. So I just have always loved fabric, and growing up in the country, fabric was quite scarce. So I feel like here I get to play with incredibly beautiful fabrics every day, and that's such a joy.
I know that you teach, so you've got classes that you have in store, and you also teach at the Sydney Community College. Tell me a little bit more about that. What is it that you teach?
So my teaching career was my first career, really. I trained as a home economics and textile and design teacher at a college called Kelvin Grove College in Brisbane when I was young, and I taught in high schools for a few short years, and then I went to live in London and taught there in a lovely school called the City of London School for Girls, which was rather lovely. and back here, and then I had children, so I went and thought I'm not going to stop teaching, and I got a job at Sydney Community College teaching making soft furnishings and the beginning sewing classes, and I've been teaching there ever since. So that was 1989, and so that marks up like 33 years or something of teaching with the college. And again, I do love teaching. It's just so wonderful to give back what you learn and to encourage people to push their both technical, design and knowledge further. I really encourage people to do that, to experiment with new materials, but to give them safe beginning points. So I guess I like to know that people have technique and that you can then build on technique once you've acquired that. So I did begin teaching millinery I think it was about 13 years ago that I've been teaching the millinery. So, and then when I got the shop, I started having both my own little classes that we built up. We do millinery high teas, which are kind of fun. So I get lots of groups of hens parties, and sometimes I have 3 generations of women in here, so grandma, daughter, and they either because they love going off to the races or they're celebrating a special event. I've had 60th and 80th and 70th birthday parties as well as the hens parties. So that's a particular type of fun activity that we do here. And then I do the more serious, particular skills-based ones. So yeah, the community college, I've just kept that up. I really enjoy the mix of students that I get through the college, and yeah, had lots of people who've gone on to establish careers through having done a little short course with me, who've then gone on to TAFE and learned it in full, established their own businesses. So that's really satisfying for me.
Okay, this is one of my favourite questions to ask. What is your favourite millinery material to work with?
That is so hard. I guess I really love ribbons. I really enjoy the beautiful ribbons that we have in the shop. I love felt, working with felt, and the thing that I want to keep learning about and don't know enough about, I feel, is braids. So I'm always experimenting with using braids in different ways in my headpieces, and it's also something we nearly always put in our materials for the Hatember competition, because we want people to really explore using braids in their work.
You also run the international competition Hatember, and I entered for the very first time, and there should be a picture on screen right now of that. So tell me a little bit more. How did that start?
So that came about again because I was trying to come up with ways of building on the millinery industry. What can we do to continually make people aware of, one, the importance of hat wearing in Australia. You should wake up and wear a hat every day to protect us from the sun's rays. It's a no-brainer, really, that we do that. The other thing is, just because it's such a joyous activity, making hats and building on that. So I guess I was trying to think of ways of doing that. So I initially started, and also I have my children and I established a family fund called the John Skipper Kelly Fund, and they're into running and activities, and so we have an annual cocktail party, and I thought this would be my way of contributing to the fund. They do fun runs and ridiculous triathlons and all sorts of things, and regularly raise funds. We also have a regular cocktail party for the fund, but I thought this would be my way of my business, embracing the millinery community, giving something back to the community, and also being something that I could contribute in my way to the family fund as well. And then it grew from there. When I acquired Hatters Millinery Supplies, Jenny had developed a competition that used to be held at all the Hats Off events, the Hats Off conferences in Australia, which we went to regularly. They had a competition which was a tutor challenge, which is also terrifying, because you would sit down and open the box and there'd be all these materials in there, and you'd have $50 to run around and spend on things, and you'd have to create, we had 3 hours to make a hat, and all the time you had a panel of people watching you. So it kind of came from that idea. I thought this is a way of also honouring Jenny and her idea of the tutor challenge in a way that everybody could be involved and be challenged by the materials that we offered. You know, we get mostly positive, but we've had to have a few pretty negative responses to, oh my God, I hate black, you know, why did you send me this? But mostly people go, it's such a great thing to get their box of materials and go, oh my gosh, what am I going to make with this? And that's what we want. That's a loving response to our bags of materials, because Lily especially spends a lot of time curating the materials and thinking about how we're going to put it together. So yeah, that's how it started. It was a bit of a combination of things, but it's now become a regular established event, and it's a really nice way of drawing in the community. Mo came over as part of Hatember, and we hosted him, and he was one of our judges. We regularly have, you know, lots of local milliners as part of our judging panel, which is really great to bring in other really established milliners here into judge, and then people we always do beautiful displays in the window, and you know, it helps get people's names out there. We've got an established Hatember Instagram and Facebook page, which I try and keep up posting the hats that people made on there as well. So it's a way of kind of broadening the industry, giving people acknowledgement for their work and skills.
So this is going out on the 3rd of June, which is the closing date is today. So I am going to try and put this out in the morning. So if you are watching this on the day I put this out, you can still get entries into the competition. If not, you unfortunately going to have to wait until next year. But check out Hatember and everything so you can see what it's all about. While we've brought up COVID, how did that affect your business?
You know, literally overnight, my income was reduced to 90% of what it had been the previous month, and a slight panic, I would say, set in, thinking, what is the worst that can happen, and how can I cope emotionally and psychologically, and what can I do to maintain my staff, because I felt I was really important to maintain my staff in this. And I joined up a kind of a series of, I'd won a business kind of scholarship just with the local council, and it was really pivotal for me that I'd done that, because they also immediately set up like a series of, as they called it, a skill up series. And so I used to tune in every Wednesday night to their skill up series, and it was very motivating. It was like, well, do this, do that, try that. So I set about kind of trying to learn some more skills, and we also rebuilt the Hatters Millinery Supplies website, which was quickly dying. We set up we established and built a new website for Hatters Millinery Supplies, which had been failing us for a short time, but it was coming to its end of life. And so COVID gave us that opportunity to do that when we knew that it was becoming extremely desperate. So I'm very grateful that that was something we had really positive to work on. And then we also did a new website for Embellish, which was also probably a little bit overdue, and that gave us a lot of fun and joy. So we managed to organise some sort of remote-ish a photo shoot. So we managed to make little projects through the entire COVID. The other project that we did was we actually did run Hatember, and it ended up being a very remote activity where I was alone in the room announcing the winners, and the judge were brought in one by one to judge. So it was complex and complicated, but we knew that it would give people something really positive to do in that lockdown period. And the other thing that we did in that period of time was I used a little bit of funding that I received, and I decided I would invest that money into getting some videos made of some of my core teaching subjects for millinery, so that would complement later on my classes. So usually when my students have done a class now with me, they'll get a complimentary video class, so that they can go back and reference what we've done as well. So that was a really exciting, also nerve-wracking project that we undertook, and I can tell you I learned a lot doing that, about process and about, oh gosh, being in front of the camera. I am no film star, but it was a great. In fact, I feel like I've turned that COVID period into a time of learning for me, and I'm grateful that I was able to do that, because I don't know how I would have coped had I not been able to come into my shop every day, had I not been able to make positive plans. We also made hundreds of masks and that was good for a while.
So thank you very much for talking with me, Catherine. It's been very much appreciated. Now, one thing that we do on this channel is a iconic millinery smackdown. Basically, I a fair few months ago asked, what is your most iconic hat from stage, screen and fashion, pretty much, and whittled it down to a top 8, and each episode the guests will pick from one of 2, and it'll battle until we get to the final 2, and then whoever's the last person gets to pick the most iconic hat of all time. So this episode you are getting to pick from the iconic Philip Treacy pirate ship hat, or the straw hat from Gone with the Wind.
Well, I'm really sorry if it's a wrong choice for you, but the Philip Treacy hat is just phenomenal. I mean, technically, artistically, everything. And then you go, how did he do that? Like the weight, the balance, the proportion, the scale, everything. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so when I realised that you were getting these to pick from, I was like, oh, she's going to pick Gone with the Wind. So that was very interesting.
It's romantic and it has lovely historical connections. There's lots to love about it, but that is just incredible.
Once again, thank you for speaking with me today, Catherine. It's been a pleasure. I'll be in store to come and shop with you very soon. Where can people find you online?
Okay, well, thank you, John, very much for today. Now you can find us, we've got a few socials at Embellish Atelier and at Hatters Millinery Supplies and at Hatters Millinery School and at Hatember. They're all separate Instagram and Facebook pages, so you can find us there, or we've got corresponding websites for all of those businesses as well. They all kind of link to one another if you kind of need to find your way around the traffic jam.
I will link everything in the description box below, and it'll be on screen now, but if you want to click, just go into the description box and everything will be listed. Instagram, Hatember, Millinery School, everything will be down there, so check that out down there. I can see something on your table. Do you want to share what that is?
Well, this is my mum of many hats, which I've always called myself. And a few years ago, a young friend of mine did all these fabulous illustrations of embellish hats that we've, and then we have attributes of motherhood on there as well. So happy Mother's Day to everybody.
once again, thank you very much, Catherine. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for speaking with me today, and I will no doubt speak to you very soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks
Bye.
very much, John. Bye.
Well, thank you for watching today. It's very much appreciated. I love everybody that tunes in to Hat Gossip. If you want to support this channel, hit that subscribe button down there. It doesn't cost anything. If you fancy making a donation to this channel, to the upkeep of this channel, I have updated my Patreon. So I have a basic level tier. It's $5 a month, or whatever it is in your currency. So it's just a basic $5 a month. I also have put on a business shout out tier. So if you are a business, a millinery business, or you're a supplier, or you basically are running a business and you want to shout out your business, then I also do have a $10 business shout out tier. So my Patreon will be linked in the description box below as well. Check that out. There's no judgment. If you don't, I still love you all regardless, but if you want, it's there. So thank you for joining me. I will see you next time. I already have recorded the next video. I don't know when it's going out because it's taken me forever to edit. So, but that's coming soon. And I am working on some actual hat showing things. I am about to start recording, turning this into a fedora. So